Morning. Thank you, Ryan, for inviting me into your class. We've been doing this, Ryan and I, for years, along with other professors, but really Ryan is really consistent with this invitation, which I will always happily accept. And the reason why I do that is because I love for students to sort of look at and sort of visualize and appreciate the connection of sort of all these parts of the college experience. And what I mean by that is that typically when students start school, and this is true and it's important, their priority is sort of understanding the academic side of things. What are these courses that I need? What are courses that I might want to take? What do I need for my goal? And it often means coming in and sitting down and buying books and writing papers, and that clearly tracks. But the other side of this college side is the part that I've been doing for 33 years, which is the student services side of your education. And the two really, really need to coexist, in my strong opinion, and certainly data will show you that, for you to be able to navigate through the complexities of college. How many of you are brand new to college? This is your first semester. Okay. How many of you have attended any other college other than Fullerton College? Okay. And that tracks, the demographic is all of those things. First-time students, students who have attended other colleges, students who already maybe have a university degree or an associate degree and coming back to learn something else. The pleasure of what I have been able to do for the last 33 years is to sit down with all of those and not have one particular student and think that I'm just going to do sort of this kind of cookie cutter plan because everybody is the same. Even those of you who might be sharing the same interests academically or the same major, sort of the plan that we're going to create is still curated for you based on what we think is the best way for you to navigate through this. So, as Ryan said, my name is Linda, and I'm a community college counselor, and I've been a community college counselor for 33 years, and I am indeed retiring after 33 years on October 31st. So it's been a really interesting sort of adventure that I've been on since mainly summer, when I recognized that I was getting really close. And I'm happy that I'm able to start the year, but I'm very happy that I don't have to stay the whole year either, because I'm truly ready to go. The 33 years that I've had, though, has been amazing in that I'm one of those people, and I'm going to tell you that I know this is true, that not everybody can say this, that I get to end this thinking, gosh, I just had the best time of my life. So if all of you are able to sort of, and you know, it was certainly not immediate, and this is not my first career. I'm old enough that I had one right before this that wasn't the time of my life, which is why I made some changes. If as you navigate through here and you sort of think about the things that are meaningful to you, what's important to you, what you like, what you don't like, it is all in the hopes that you are able to have a meaningful career that allows you to do the things that you want to do and afford the life you want, all of those things. That's okay. So let's just kind of talk about what I do in sort of my place and counseling, specifically the place within this broader scope of what you're doing. Before I do that, how many of you have met with a counselor in an actual appointment? So not sort of through your high school. Okay, this semester? Okay, so the idea for you is that all of these things that you're thinking about, and in a minute I'm going to get a glimpse of what you guys are interested in, is for us to make sure that it's sort of making sense for you as you start this journey. Initially, a lot of times, and students will come in and say, well, yeah, what's so hard about it? This is my major. This is where I want to go to school. And somebody told me these are the classes I need. And so certainly that's not a bad place to start. But again, I've been doing this for 33 years. And so I also recognize that, you know, there are challenges that might come up. Earlier today, I actually asked the question in week 5, and students were very honest and transparent. How many of you in week 5 are recognizing that you're struggling in one or more classes? And people raise their hands because obviously in week 1, that might not have been what somebody would have thought. But college is a lot of surprise too in terms of what we're learning, right? And what's expected of us. So this idea is to sort of present you with, based on what you're telling me, sort of this map to get to your end goal, and then recognizing maybe that the things that might change. So for those of you that are sitting in this space right now, when you started Fullerton College, how many of you started with us with the thought that you're going to complete the things you need to and then transfer on to a college or university? Okay. And for those of you that are planning to do that, how many of you have an idea of where you'd like to go if everything works out the way you want it to? Where would you like to go to school?
USC or NYU.
Okay. I'm going to New York tomorrow. Yes.
Cal State Fullerton and Cal State.
Perfect. I live across the street from Cal State. In fact, I ran through Cal State Long Beach today. Anybody else? CSU. Santa Barbara, UCSB, UC Santa Barbara, beautiful school. Anybody in this row? Yes.
Monterey Bay.
Monterey Bay, another beautiful area. Anybody in this row want to share? Yes. West Coast University, are you nursing major? Okay. Anybody here want to share? Cal Poly Pomona, my sister went there, my nephew went there. Anybody over here? No? Those of you that know you want to transfer, raise your hand. How many of you are just not sure where that is? Because that's part of the journey, and that's wonderful. So this community college experience allows you to say, I can go wherever I want to go. If I know what I need and I know what that school expects, there is nothing for me to think that I cannot get there. I have testimonials for 33 years to tell you that that is true. So part of this experience is sort of recognizing, I know I want to go from here to here, and I'm going to take this time with some help to sort of figure out what might work best for me. Am I interested? Do I need to stay in California? Do I need to stay in Southern California? Am I excited to leave California? If I leave California, what does that look like? Am I somebody that really wants an urban experience in terms of a university? Or do I want a more sort of rural experience, suburban experience? Do I like water or do I not like water? Do I want to be in a class with 300 people or do I want to be in a class with 12? Those things really matter. Students that I have had that have worked really, really hard to go to UCLA, and that is noteworthy because it's difficult to get in. A few have come back and said, I didn't really think that I was going to be in a class with 300 people, and that's not really my thing. So in hindsight, I kind of should have thought of some other things. So there's a lot of thought that can go into this journey as you are sitting here while you're simultaneously hitting these benchmarks for you to be able to get to some of these places. Those of you, is there anybody in this class that is kind of looking at Fullerton College without really thinking about the transfer piece? Okay, so the reason why I ask that is because community colleges are chock full of programs that start here, end here, that will allow you to have viable, meaningful careers. I try not to go to very many meetings right now because I'm retiring. I'm like, who cares? But so I went in, I popped into our department meeting via Zoom for 20 minutes because the head of our paralegal program was presenting. And that's the perfect example of a program on this campus that's ABA approved, that is highly regarded, and that is incredibly popular, that does not require, per se, a university degree to go out and obtain entry-level employment in the legal field. And that's just one of many examples that we have on this campus where students are saying, you know what, this is a program that works for me. I'm not really thinking about that transfer piece. That doesn't mean I can't change my mind, but this is the program that works for me. Those of you that are interested in transferring, I don't even know if I answered this. How many of you have a major? You know what you want to do once you transfer. Okay, so you may not know where you want to go, but you have a major in mind of what you want to study. What would you like to study? What are you planning to study? I saw your hand.
My major is child development, and I want to become a teacher.
All right, wonderful. Elementary, middle, high school? All right, perfect. Anybody over here? Majors? Over here? Grace, what's your major? Grace is my student, yes. We talk all the time about her major. What about over here? Anybody want to share?
Early childhood education. I want to be a teacher too.
Okay. What about you? Nursing. Okay. Anybody else want to share? Yes.
Child psychology and dance major.
Excuse me?
Child psychology and dance major.
Okay. Perfect.
Production and directing.
Great. My daughter just got her MFA in directing and was at Telluride and bumped right into Bruce Springsteen and that cute guy from The Bear as they were eating. I know, kind of vicariously, I thought, oh my God. It was a moment for sure. These majors are important to you. They mean something to you. Many of these majors are connected to a specific career. Sometimes one of the things that students struggle with is they struggle with this idea of finding a major or picking a major because it's vast, right? And I went through 3 before I sort of found mine. And the struggle is often that students will say, I don't know about this major. I kind of know what I want to do for my life's work, but I don't know about the major piece. And it's this other part, and I didn't bring this up earlier, but I often bring it up, is that major and career don't sort of have to coexist on one thing. So when Ryan went to school and got his degrees in English, not every single person he went to school with is teaching English right now. I mean, they are doing all kinds of different things. So I will have students that'll say, I have no idea what I want to do for a living, but I really like makeup. So I just want to work with, like, I want to be in the beauty industry, in the cosmetics industry. Is there a major for that? You know, because, and so we talk about what are those skills that you would need to, and what do you think you want to do? Is it marketing? Is it image consulting? Is it public relations? And we look at majors that typically would align themselves that plus really, really good internships so that you can demonstrate that you understand this industry. Some majors are very specific. So my nurses in here, you can't get a degree in early childhood education and be a registered nurse. You have to get a degree in nursing, okay? But you could get a degree in nursing and become an elementary school teacher, because to become an elementary school teacher, you need to get through a teaching credential, a multiple subject teaching credential, but it doesn't matter what your bachelor's degree is in. Typically, students who are interested in teaching the littles really want to study the littles, and they often get their degrees in early childhood education, child development. But there are people who have degrees. My girlfriend's husband got a degree in business and realized that was a big mistake, and he ended up teaching elementary school because he recognized if he would have just listened and not just done what his parents told him, he'd be teaching 5th grade. And so he did all the things he needed to. He didn't have to go back and get a different bachelor's degree. He just had to take some tests that the state of California said he needed. He needed his teaching credential, and he has taught 5th grade for the last 30 years. So a lot of times it's this connection of, I kind of know what I want to do, and I just kind of don't know where that major comes from. The other part of this is sort of understanding, for me to get from Fullerton College to where I am hoping to transfer, I need to understand the basic minimum admission requirements, and then recognize that the minimum admission requirements typically doesn't make you competitive. Pretty much all the schools that you listed in here are going to require more than just minimum admission requirements. They're going to need you to be a little bit more intentional, not only in your GPA, but then in all these other things that we're going to talk about. So almost everybody here, with the exception of one person, mentioned a public school in California, a CSU or a UC. Do you know how many units you need minimally from here to meet that minimum admission requirement for units? Say it? 60. That is not true for private schools. That can be lower. Sometimes, though, when students are looking at private schools and they're also looking at public schools, they end up with the 60 because one of the schools on their list requires the 60. And it's certainly not a bad idea to get to 60, even though USC will consider you a transfer student at 30. Does anybody know what those 60 units need to be? So you're in English right now. You're in English C1000. Are you taking it because you heard how great Ryan is and you're like, I just can't wait? Or did somebody tell you I have to have this class? Both of those things can be true, by the way. So if you have to have this class, what does it fall under? Why do you need it? Is it a class? What kind of class is it? Say it loud. It is a general education class. So for all of you, the breakdown of the 60, and depending on the school, the unit values may differ. General education, major preparation, and when you do both of those things together, if you come up short, the third is electives. Okay, so some majors, by the time you're done with the major preparation in your GE, that might not get you to the 60. You get to add in any transferable units you want. to get to the 60. The major preparation piece is the other piece that sometimes students don't lean into and sort of understand. Students will come into community college and they may, not so much anymore, but back in the day, because remember, I've been doing this a long time, in the 90s, students would say, well, I'm just here to do my gen eds and then I'm transferring. It's cheaper. My family told me to do it this way, and that's what I'm doing. The universities and the majors that you're talking about are looking for a competitive student that, yes, has navigated through general education courses like your year of writing, your oral communication, some arts, some humanities, some social sciences. But with all these specific majors that you have indicated, they want to see that you are prepared for that major, meaning Fullerton College, like all the great California community colleges, has agreements with these universities that are showing you if your best friend was your same major at a university, the class in your major here is equivalent to that. And we know and share with you where those requirements are, because students are like, are you sure I need this, Linda? And I promise you, I'm not going, well, I think. I know a lot of things. I know. There is a website that we share with students and we use called assist.org. And for all of our UCs and CSUs, for every major, it will show you what the UC or CSU student is taking. And right across from it, it'll show you the Fullerton College equivalent. So when a student walks in and says, this is my major and this is the school, for our public schools, that information is readily available. Private schools who try really hard to recruit community college students. USC loves Fullerton College students. They do a good job as well. They have a transfer planner that we tell students this is the best way for you to prepare. For any schools outside of California, they don't invest in that in terms of being specific, but typically it is very easy to identify what you should do to prepare for a major outside of California. The major prep is crucial. Now, for my nursing majors, you can't apply to nursing school until you get through some really hard sciences, right? Like really hard sciences. So you can't even submit an application until the anatomy, physiology, microbiology, and chemistry is complete with ridiculously high grades, along with your non-science requirements like psychology, sociology, and so forth. So that plan is curated and kind of non-negotiable in those classes. And now it's not non-negotiable that you might look at it and go, yeah, I've changed my mind. And I don't want you to do that because we need nurses. But the idea of the planning piece of this is to lay out a visual for you, because a lot of times students will say, I didn't know I needed those classes. Grace is a business/accounting major, but a lot of our business majors are interested in marketing and finance and things. And they'll say, oh, Linda, you put accounting on my plan. I'm not trying to be an accountant. And I tell them it doesn't matter because every business major has to have a year of accounting. Now, you might be, once you're done with that accounting, unlike Grace, she's going to be drowning in it. They won't have to take any more. But yes, they have to have that year of accounting because that is just required. That is required for that major. That's like the nurse who comes in and tells me, but I don't know that I like science. I'm like, okay, well, get used to it. The idea of you understanding what you need for that journey. When you guys, those of you who met with a counselor, I have to think during that appointment, you created an educational plan, correct? Okay, so I'm going to invite you to think about two words. Was your educational plan abbreviated or comprehensive? And I'll give you an example. When I have a student in semester one, sometimes they are very specific in their major and where they want to go to school, but sometimes they aren't because they are thinking, I don't know where I want to go, but here's what I'm thinking about. I will take that opportunity to discuss the goals, give them information about the requirements, and it may be that during that appointment, we just look at the next semester. So English C1000 is a required GE class. You guys have another writing class you have to take as part of your GE. Now, there are 4 different options to meet that, but I know you need that as part of your general ed. So we are going to look next semester and say, you know what, if you know your major, we need to start working on that major, and we need to find a balance between your general education and your major preparation. One of the other things that students will do is say, let me just work on my GE first and my major later. That is a terrible mistake. My job and what I'm so good at is to show you how to balance those two things so that you feel like you're moving through and it's not really heavy on one versus the other towards the end. Okay, so it may be that we say, you know what, let's just talk about spring today, and here's some safe classes for you to take that are hitting some of the things that you need. More often than not, for my nursing majors, I typically will do a comprehensive ed plan because there's no wiggle room on that major. It is very, very specific. And even though, and this is true, and for the West Coast student, this is true, nursing majors need to think that they need to apply to several nursing programs in the hope of getting in, sometimes 7 or more. The plan that I'm doing, I am confident will meet the requirements for anywhere you're thinking of applying. So we would do a comprehensive. So those of you that met with a counselor this semester, did you leave with an abbreviated plan, which is maybe 1 semester, maybe 2, or a comprehensive? Do you remember? Comprehensive. So all of your semesters here were laid out for you to have that visual. Okay, does anybody else have a comprehensive plan on file? That is great. Yes, comprehensive. Okay, so the comprehensive is great because that's your roadmap and you're like, okay, this is what I know I need to do. The comprehensive doesn't mean, okay, I don't ever have to go back because here's my plan, because the best laid plans, I don't know what that joke about, you know, you have plans and then God laughs or something, because things can happen, right? We're in week 5. Week 6, things might get a little dicey in 1 or more classes. There are resources for you to deal with that. Everything that's happening in school right now, if it's less than 100% positive in each course, week 5 there's plenty of time to turn anything around. There is ample time to discuss what you need to and be very intentional in discussing things with your professors, to understand the tutoring center, the writing center, all of the things that are set up for you to get the help you need to ideally finish everything you're in. But of course, sometimes that doesn't happen, and students might find that they're in a class that maybe they should take a different semester. They might need some skill building in something before they actually take that class. And so that comprehensive plan would change if you drop 1 or more classes this semester, right? So whether or not that happens, every term is the term for you to come in and say, I'm just checking in. The other reason, even if everything goes as we hope it does in terms of you successfully completing every class, remember when I mentioned briefly the major preparation and how there's a website where we look at that? That website is reviewed every year by every CSU and UC on that major. And I'll never forget the year that Berkeley decided that psychology majors needed calculus. That wasn't on any of my comprehensive ed plans, because when I met with the students the year before, they did not need calculus, but they needed it now. And when schools decide to change major prep, they don't say, but not you, because when you sat down with the counselor, you didn't need it. If it's listed, you need it. So the idea is you come in and say, has anything changed? Is anything new that I need to know about? Is my plan still accurate? Okay, and there are more of you than us. So we just remind you that your job is to come in and say, here's the plan that I have. It feels good to me. I'm doing really well. Is there anything on here that you think I need to change? Or I want to change this plan and here are the reasons why. Okay? The general education, the major preparation, the idea of knowing that with the goal of completing a comprehensive plan. If you have an abbreviated plan, the next time you meet with a counselor, if you are fairly certain sort of your journey, you should talk to them about helping you with your comprehensive ed plan. Okay? One of the other important reasons to look at that comprehensive ed plan is because of the idea of how long students sort of think that they're going to be with us and then sort of see that their major dictates otherwise. There are majors that have a lot of preparation, and I'm just, again, eyeballing my nursing majors because that is a major that often this sort of 2 years that everybody sort of thinks that's what this is, a 2-year college, it doesn't always translate when you are looking at the sciences that you need and the grades that you need to create the balance you need. I am engineering. We had some engineering students earlier today that we were talking about all of the math and the physics, and that this 2-year window isn't always ideal. Well, that's concerning for a lot of students for a couple of reasons. How many of you are in our Promise program? Okay, so what you see and what is advertised is 2 years free. And it's true that students walk in and go, Linda, you just did an ed plan for 2.5, or you just did an ed plan for 3. What am I going to do? So it is this conversation of talking about that. Although this is not true for every student in our Promise program, what was true is that part of the requirement to be in our Promise program is that you all had to complete a FAFSA. And a lot of times the financial aid that you may be eligible for isn't discussed a lot because Promise is sort of moving you through. But that financial aid is often the piece that allows students, without a lot of sort of turmoil in their family, because college is money and none of us, are going to minimize that there's a cost involved, that students then are able to connect with their financial aid technician and say, I'm going to be here another year. Can you go over my financial aid with me? Because I'm just thinking now my financial aid should be pretty good, right? If for whatever reason it's not, it is certainly a conversation that you have to have, because we don't minimize the financial part of school. The financial part of school is why a lot of students don't end up finishing it, right? If you go back and talk to people about school, because it's expensive in our great nation. It's expensive to go to school. So all of these things sort of lend themselves to all these discussions when you're sitting with us and we're creating this plan. Okay. And then the idea of like the timeliness of when do I apply? Here are all the benchmarks of what I need to know about this. What do I need to produce? What are the deadlines I have to worry about? I had a student last year who missed every deadline on her way to, hopefully she's at Cal State Long Beach, because after this summer when I went to France and she had missed the 3rd thing, I just told her I kind of am going on vacation now. So when you didn't turn in your transcripts and you didn't let them know that you were getting your associate degree for transfer, and when you somehow forgot to tell them that you went to 2 other schools, I'm a little bit at a loss. And I just invited her to go down there and talk to somebody and beg for forgiveness. So it's this idea of just really understanding the exit part, even though right now you're in the beginning stages of just starting. The timeliness of me coming in today, though, is important because, believe it or not, spring registration is like this close. So what I've been told is on September 29th, which is next week, either via email or somewhere in your dashboard, I'm not sure where that would be, your registration date will be provided on or around September 29th. Now, the first day of spring registration is not until October 21st. For those of you that are new to college, I'm not sure if you're aware, but registration dates are based on units earned. And so it could be that your registration date is not as early as your friends, if your friend was here last semester or last year. There are some special programs on this campus that do have some priority on their registration, but you should know that nobody's registration date is before October 21st. Yours will be sometime after that. That's important. I saw that the searchable class schedule is actually available, and it looks really different than it has over the last 20 years. So again, I'm glad I'm retiring because things look different, but the searchable class schedule is available for spring. So if you have your comprehensive plan on file, you can start looking for those classes and sort of identify the days and times that you want to go to school. And then the term does not start until February 2nd. And so if you do indeed register for classes, and you never should wait to register, sometimes students have to pivot and revise it based on their grades this term, but you will have a full month after that, over a month before the spring semester starts in very early February. Because I know that the registration date will be produced next week, That is when students will look up and say, I have a registration date and I don't know what to take. I need to make an appointment with a counselor. And that's exactly what we want you to do, but you outnumber us vastly. And so when you wait to do this, typically it becomes difficult to get an appointment. And sometimes students get frustrated if they can't get an appointment before their registration day. So right now, because we're having this conversation, my hope is that if you have not met with a counselor this semester, or you have questions about the plan that was created for you, you need to make an appointment this week before that email goes out. Okay, and the closer it gets to October, the more hectic it will get, and it's frustrating for everybody, but it's really frustrating for you. But I'm just reminding you, you have to really kind of think about us when you don't need us. So for every student that I see, I tell them week 4 of any semester is when you should be thinking it's time for me to check in. I'm fine, everything's great, I do well in school, everything's wonderful, but I'm going to check in week 4, because that after about week 3, it really slows down in counseling, and it is the perfect time to get an appointment on the day and the time you desire. We do in-person as well as remote. Most of us are not on campus every day, and so we've got a thriving Zoom appointment schedule that works for a lot of students to do on their lunch hour or what have you. So we have a format that will work for you. Okay, I've talked a lot, so let me stop for a minute. Any questions at all on, well, let me go back, registration. Any questions about spring registration? Okay, and I'm hoping that those of you who's, I've been sitting down with students who we were talking about this, and they're in full-time classes and they're asking me how to register for spring, and I'm like, well, who did this for you? And I don't know, a cousin or a boyfriend or a partner, and we don't register you. So hopefully you are comfortable registering yourself, but we do have PDFs in case somebody did do that for you the first time, which that happens. Any questions at all on sort of the plan itself, like an educational plan and what goes on it, or anything like that? Okay, the flyer or the handout that I gave you, and we put this together years ago. A lot of times students will come in and say, well, they just said I needed to do that, and that's okay. I can work with that, but I really love when a student says, I have questions for you. I really love it when students say, my father has questions for you, and he told me to write them down, or whatever that is. So if you are just thinking, I don't have a question today, but I don't understand how this and this works, I'm just going to encourage you to write that down so that you can discuss it with a counselor. Nothing is off limits. This is tricky. College is tricky, and it's really great to understand whatever it is you don't. Yes, ma'am. Yes, I'm sorry. You walked right by me and didn't get one. Okay. Yes. Any questions on the transfer? I just gave you sort of a brief outline of the transfer process, the 60 units, the GE. Any questions on that? Yes. Yes, my goodness. I was talking and I was hoarding all of these. Here you go. Any questions on that? Majors, anything major specific? Yes.
How do you know what is considered a transferable unit?
That is an excellent question. So on our campus, any course that is numbered 100 or higher, from PE to art to dance to philosophy, automatically transfers to any of our California state universities. So if it's on, those of you that are new this fall and have been in a space with counselors, have you been introduced to the term, and I should have brought them, I think CalGETC? Does that sound familiar? Okay, so the state of California this fall, prior to this year, there were 2 sort of GE patterns that a student can choose from for a California school, California public school. One was specific to all the Cal States, and at the very top it said California State University General Education. And the other one was a GE pattern that worked for all the Cal States and the UCs, and it was called IGETC. The acronym was Intersegmental General Education Transfer Curriculum. Typically, we would look at where a student was looking, and when a student said, I don't know where I want to go, maybe California, maybe not, UC, CSU, out of state, IGETC was the safest one. Beginning this fall, even 2 was too many, and the UCs and the CSU said we have one GE pattern, which is the California General Ed Transfer Curriculum. That is so, right, this class is on there in Area 1A because you have to have college level writing. Anything that's on that sheet, because students will go, okay, Linda, I'm going to take this intro to dance. Is it transferable? If it's on the GE guide sheet, it transfers to all the Cal States and UCs. Anything numbered 100 or higher transfers. So it might be an elective, but it transfers. But not everything numbered 100 or higher is UC transferable. So when students are UC transferable or looking at private schools, because even though USC can do whatever it wants for a million years, they only consider UC classes transferable to USC. Okay, so when a student says, I don't know where I want to transfer, then we always make sure that they take a course that is UC and CSU transferable and not just CSU. So if it's on a GE pattern, you never have to worry. If it's a course that's required for your major, you typically never have to worry. But if you are ever in doubt, you can all day you can call up the counseling center. One of us is on something called general information, and you can call and say, I'm thinking of taking this automotive class because I want to know how to fix my car. Does this transfer? It transfers to a CSU because all of our automotive classes are numbered 100 or higher, but none of our automotive classes transfer to UC Irvine. Okay, so when in doubt, just ask us. Back in the old days, and maybe this is true on the searchable class schedule, next to the course description, it would tell you if it was CSU and UC transferable. Something tells me if you click on the course description on the searchable, it will tell you. I used to always find errors too, though. So when in doubt, you ask us, okay? But the CSU transfer, folks, it's pretty easy because anything numbered 100 or higher, which is 95% of our classes. Any other questions? No? Okay, I want to mention one thing I forgot to mention last time. And if this works in your plan, even though it's not on your plan, Fullerton College has an amazing study abroad program, like amazing. And we have expanded, so when students say, you know what, that sounds great, but I can't really leave for 3-ish to 4 months, we've really actually just really done a great job in summer where students can maybe take one class. I have a student who's actually getting her associate degree in manufacturing technology, which is a trade here. Her focus is machine technology, and we are teaching a class in that major in Grenoble, France next summer. So we are also really moving away from even just traditional GEs, even though that is often what we teach, and just to allow a student to have that experience. I studied abroad in Paris in 1985, and I swear I remember it like it was yesterday. It was that special. So this idea of taking this opportunity of Fullerton College and doing everything you can, and I've had students that have said, yeah, but if I do that, you know, like they're not teaching anything in my major. And certainly all those things are important. I have also had students that have kind of recognized and gone on our study abroad website and have looked at us, said, oh my God, Dublin, you know, oh my goodness, and have really said, can you curate my plan so that I don't take any of these classes so that I maybe can try to go to Dublin and take the classes that they're offering? Because that's an important part too, right? We don't teach everything in a foreign country. And if you've taken everything we've offered, then that might not work out for the country you're hoping to go to. And I forgot to mention that last time, but I'm a huge advocate of study abroad, and there are a lot of factors that go into it, but it's really a great thing to look at and think about on this part of your education before you transfer. Anything else? Ryan, is there anything I didn't go over that you wish I did or forgot to mention?
Can't think of any.
Okay, I took way longer than I expected to. I'm sorry. So I talked about a lot of stuff. A lot of you have really honed in already and have met with a counselor. Many of you are going to. Yes. Yes.
I know you were talking about the UCs and the Cal States
Yes.
and how the transfer works. So right now for me, I'm planning on getting my associates, but before that I was planning on transferring to Cal Poly Pomona.
Okay.
So it's kind of like
Before you get your associate, or on the way to transferring, you plan to pick up your associates?
no, I'm not planning on transfer right now. I'm planning on just getting my associates.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, my plan is under the Cal Poly Pomona thing. So I don't know if that will affect if I ever plan on transferring to a UC.
Oh, okay. That's a great question. And that is incredibly common. Students have a school that sort of right now fits what they want to do. I had somebody who just did, I mean, she's applying to 3 CSUs, and her boyfriend who goes to UCI walked in, and maybe it's because of him. And she goes, Linda, we never talked about UCI, but do I have what I need to add them to my list? And we were able to go back, and we needed to tweak her spring because her major looked a little bit different at UCI. And I said, you know what, let's adjust. And so I would invite you to know that it is not, Cal Poly can be your #1 school. And then in terms of the transferable units, we could just make sure if you're taking anything that's not GE or your major, that you keep it a CSU UC so that you never have to worry about the 60 units. And then the question could be, okay, I don't know about this particular UC, but if I were this major and I decided, in addition to Cal Poly, to apply to this, does this major look any different? I mean, I've done plans for students. One was for one school and one was for the other. I mean, it's your 45 minutes, and if you show up on time, I'll do that. Can you do this one for the, or sometimes the UCs have a major that's not exactly the same name of the major at the other school, and they'll just say, can we look at both? Your time is your time when you're in my office. So I would just think about, like, okay, I like this idea of keeping a UC door open. And when I see a counselor, I can ask them about the UCs I might want to apply to and how different would this look. Okay. It is not hard to plan for all of that. Yeah. Okay, you guys, thank you very, very much. I'm just going to invite you, please, to know that it's important for you to make an appointment with a counselor sooner rather than later. You can go to the website, you can call, or if you're across the street, I think those QR codes will take you right there. If you're across the street, you could just walk up to the counter and schedule an appointment. Okay? If you have already met with a counselor and you really like that counselor, you can see whoever you want, but there is a strong recommendation that you sort of stay consistent. Counselors get to know you really well. I had somebody who I haven't seen in 2 years who asked me for a letter of recommendation, and I knew him really well because he was in my office a lot. And so I'm doing his law school letter of recommendation because we work together so much. You don't know what you're going to need from people, so develop those relationships now so that if you need them to say nice things about you, they will do it because they know who you are. And every year I have somebody who I've never met that says, I just have a quick question. Can you write me a letter of recommendation? I'm like, no, because I don't know who you are. So try to be consistent with the people. But if for whatever reason it wasn't a connection, you are able to see whomever you'd like with regards to your plan. Okay? Okay, I took up a lot of time. I'm sorry. Thank you guys. Take care. Best of luck to you. Bye.